What if the engineering behind billion-dollar breakthroughs could completely redesign who you are? Get ready to discover how radical innovation principles create impossible personal transformations. How tech giants engineer breakthroughs from scratch. There's a secret language spoken in innovation labs that nobody teaches you in school. It's not about working harder or being more disciplined. It's about understanding the fundamental architecture of transformation itself. And once you crack this code, everything changes. Look at how breakthrough companies actually operate. When biotechnology startups decided to revolutionize genetic editing, they didn't improve old methods. They studied bacterial defense mechanisms and asked a dangerous question: what if we could hijack nature's own system? That's not improvement. That's complete reimagination. The pattern repeats across every major technological revolution. Someone identifies a limitation that everyone accepts as reality. Then they refuse to accept it. Instead of optimizing within constraints, they eliminate the constraints entirely. It's like watching someone solve a maze by burning down the walls instead of finding the path. This approach has a name in Silicon Valley: first principles thinking. You break everything down to fundamental truths and rebuild from there. No assumptions. No, that's how it's always been done. Just raw logic and possibility. And here's what nobody tells you: this same methodology works on human transformation. Your life right now is built on inherited systems. Morning routines you copied from somewhere. Career paths that seemed logical. Relationships that formed by default. None of these were consciously designed by you. They're just accumulated patterns that hardened into identity. And that's the invisible cage. Strategic innovation requires something uncomfortable: admitting that your current operating system is outdated, not broken, not wrong, just insufficient for the level you want to reach. Every major tech company eventually faces this moment. They can either optimize what exists or burn it down and start fresh. The companies that choose optimization die slowly. The ones that choose reinvention create new industries. Your personal growth works exactly the same way. You can spend years trying to be a slightly better version of who you are now. Or you can ask the dangerous question: what if I rebuilt myself from scratch? Military strategists throughout history understood this instinctively. They didn't win by having better soldiers. They won by changing the entire battlefield. When conventional tactics failed, legendary commanders invented completely new forms of warfare. They saw limitations as invitations to innovate. Now here's where it gets interesting. Because understanding the theory is useless without knowing the specific mechanics of how transformation actually happens at a molecular level. What happens when you treat yourself like a startup? Every successful startup runs on a brutal cycle that most people would find terrifying. Build something minimal. Launch it before it's perfect. Watch it fail in real time. Learn from the wreckage. Rebuild faster and smarter. Repeat until breakthrough happens. This methodology has a technical name: rapid prototyping. And it's the opposite of how you've been taught to approach personal change. You've been told to plan everything perfectly. Wait until you're ready, then execute flawlessly. That's a recipe for paralysis, not transformation. What if you approached your own evolution like a tech prototype? Create a minimum viable version of your future self. Not the perfect final form, just the simplest version that could possibly work. Then test it ruthlessly in the real world for 30 days. Collect data on what works and what doesn't. Iterate without emotion. The power of this approach is speed. Traditional personal development moves at the pace of comfort. You make small changes when you feel ready. You avoid anything that might fail publicly. You protect your current identity at all costs. Result: years pass with minimal actual transformation. Rapid prototyping moves at the pace of curiosity. You're not protecting an identity, you're testing hypotheses. Failure isn't personal. It's just data showing you what doesn't work. This mental shift alone changes everything because it removes the emotional weight that keeps most people stuck. Think about the most innovative companies in artificial intelligence. They don't train one perfect model over 5 years. They train thousands of experimental models simultaneously, kill the ones that don't perform, and double down on unexpected breakthroughs. Brutal efficiency, zero attachment to any single approach. You can apply this exact framework to any stuck area of your life. Struggling with consistency? Don't spend months reading about willpower. Test 5 completely different systems simultaneously for 2 weeks each. Track which one produces actual results, not which one sounds best on paper. Let reality be your teacher. Here's the critical insight. Your current self is just one possible configuration, not the right one, not the wrong one, just one version among infinite possibilities. When you accept that, experimentation becomes natural instead of threatening. You stop defending who you are and start exploring who you could become. But there's a deeper level to this that most people miss entirely. It's about understanding what actually prevents transformation in the first place. And the answer is darker than you think. Why your identity is the problem, not the solution. Here's something that'll mess with your head. The person you think you are doesn't actually exist. What you call your identity is just a collection of patterns your brain automated to save energy. And those patterns are destroying your potential. Neuroscience shows us something fascinating. Your brain creates a self-concept to make decision-making efficient. Instead of evaluating every choice from scratch, it asks, what would someone like me do? Then it autopilots that behavior. Genius for survival, terrible for evolution. Every time you say, I'm not a morning person, or naturally anxious, you're not describing reality. You're running outdated code that your brain installed years ago based on limited data. That code made sense when it was written, but circumstances changed. You changed. The code stayed frozen. Innovative companies understand this principle deeply. When they need to transform, they don't try to motivate employees to change. They literally restructure everything so the old behaviors become impossible. New office layouts, new workflows, new teams. The environment forces evolution because the old patterns no longer fit. You need to do the same thing to yourself. Stop trying to change through willpower and motivation. Those are weak tools fighting against automated patterns. Instead, make your environment incompatible with your old identity. If you want to write daily, remove everything from your desk except writing tools. Make it harder to not write than to write. This is what I call strategic identity destruction. You systematically dismantle the beliefs and structures that support your current self. Not through positive thinking, through environmental design and ruthless honesty about which parts of your identity actually serve your evolution and which parts are just comfortable lies. The most successful transformations happen when people create a gap so large between their environment and their old identity that they have to evolve just to function. It's like throwing yourself into water before you learn to swim. Your brain has no choice but to figure it out. Ancient philosophical traditions understood this instinctively. They created extreme environments, monasteries, warrior training camps, isolation practices specifically designed to shatter old identities and forge new ones. Not gradually, dramatically, because slow change allows the old self to adapt and survive. Drop breakthrough in the comments if you're ready to stop defending your current identity and start dismantling it. And here's my question for you. What part of your identity feels most solid, but might actually be your biggest limitation? Hit that like button if this is challenging your assumptions, and subscribe, because we're about to get even more uncomfortable with how transformation actually works. Why crazy ideas contain the blueprint for transformation. Every revolutionary breakthrough started as an idea so absurd that smart people laughed at it. Streaming video when internet was slow. Electric cars when gas was cheap. Reusable rockets when everyone said impossible. The crazier the idea, the bigger the potential disruption. Your personal transformation follows the same logic. The solution to your deepest challenge won't come from reasonable strategies. Those already failed. It'll come from an approach so unconventional that your rational mind immediately rejects it. That rejection is actually a signal you're onto something. Here's a framework I use. The impossible experiment. Take your biggest struggle. Now brainstorm the most ridiculous solution possible. Not random. Ridiculous in a way that directly attacks the core assumption keeping you stuck. If you struggle with procrastination, what if you scheduled zero work time and only allowed yourself to work during breaks? Sounds insane, but it flips the psychology completely. The reason crazy ideas work is that they bypass your psychological immune system. Your brain has sophisticated defenses against change. It'll rationalize why sensible solutions won't work for you specifically. But absurd ideas are so unexpected that your defenses don't activate immediately. You get a window of opportunity before resistance kicks in. Strategic innovation always involves recombining elements in ways that seem wrong. Early hackers didn't just learn existing systems. They broke into systems to understand them at a level documentation never revealed. That boundary crossing created insights impossible through conventional study. Your transformation needs the same rebellious creativity. But you can't do this alone. Every major innovation required an unconventional team. People with different perspectives who challenged assumptions instead of reinforcing them. You need to build your own transformation team, not cheerleaders, provocateurs who won't let you hide behind comfortable lies. This might mean finding mentors who've done impossible things. Joining communities where your current level is the basement, not the ceiling. Reading books that make you uncomfortable instead of validated. Surrounding yourself with people who expect more from you than you expect from yourself. The architecture of your environment determines the range of who you can become. If everyone around you accepts limitations you're trying to break, their reality will infect yours. But if you're the least transformed person in your circle, their possibilities become your new baseline. Here's what most people get wrong. They wait until they've transformed to find better environments. Wrong order. You need the environment first. Let it pull you forward into a version of yourself that doesn't exist yet. The discomfort of not belonging accelerates evolution faster than any motivation technique. But none of this matters if you can't sustain the breakthrough once it happens. And that's where the real mastery begins. How to make transformation your default operating system. The moment you achieve a breakthrough, a countdown starts. You have a limited window before gravity pulls you back to your old patterns. Most people waste this window celebrating. Smart people use it to lock in the new reality permanently. Integration is everything. You didn't just have an insight. You accessed a different version of yourself. Now, you need to make that version your new baseline before the old patterns reassert control. This requires understanding a principle from chaos theory. Systems return to equilibrium unless you fundamentally alter the system itself. Your breakthrough was a disruption, a spike above your normal operating level. Without structural changes, you'll regress to mean within weeks. But if you immediately redesign your daily architecture around the new level, regression becomes impossible. You're not maintaining progress through willpower. You're making the old version of yourself incompatible with your new environment. This is why winning lottery winners often go broke. The money created a temporary spike, but their identity, habits, and environment stayed poor. The system pulled them back to equilibrium. Meanwhile, someone who slowly builds wealth redesigns their entire life around the new level. Different friends, different information, diet, different standards. The new level becomes the new normal. Apply this to any transformation. After a breakthrough in discipline, immediately restructure your entire day so discipline is automated, not required. After a breakthrough in confidence, immediately start taking actions the old you would have avoided. Lock in the new normal before doubt creeps back. Here's the advanced move. Treat transformation as a continuous system, a single event. You're not trying to become someone and stay there forever. You're installing the capacity to reinvent yourself whenever your current version becomes limiting. This is the difference between one-time success and sustained evolution. Tech companies that survive long-term don't rest after one innovation. They build cultures of perpetual reinvention. Amazon started selling books. Now, they're dominating cloud computing, streaming, and space logistics. They didn't achieve success and maintain it. They achieved success and immediately disrupted themselves before competitors could. You need the same ruthless approach to personal evolution. The moment you master one level, you should already be designing the next. Disruption. Not because you're inadequate, because stagnation is death. Growth is the natural state of living systems. Staying the same requires more energy than evolving. Drop perpetual in the comments if you understand that transformation isn't a destination, it's a way of operating. Tell me, What's the one structure in your life you'll redesign this week to lock in a new level? If this video shifted how you see growth, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this with someone stuck in incremental thinking. Use the word quantum when you share it. This content is for educational and informational purposes. The principles presented are based on analysis of business and historical strategies. Individual results may vary. Always consider your specific personal situation when applying any transformation strategy.